Hello and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the podcast. It is the Friday afternoon podcast in the midst of a pandemic. It's a very strange time, but the show must go on and so must the channel. Very, very difficult time in terms of content at the moment. There isn't much to really talk about besides, you know what, the famous one, COVID-19. But yeah, on today's show, we will not be talking about COVID-19. Thoughts and prayers to anyone who is struggling about through the thing, But let's ignore that word for today's show. It will crop up every now and then, naturally, but we won't be focusing about it like the last few shows. So in today's pod, yeah, it's the elephant in the room, but that elephant is in a different room this time. It's just so loud that we can hear it, and it might creep into certain topics. We'll be talking a bit about Poch, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and then we'll be talking a bit about Paul Pogba. I've got a question for Mr. Malota, but that will come later on in the show. Joining me as usual, obviously, Shawnee Rita. Don't need any introduction, but if you're new here, please do like the video and consider subscribing. We will be making more content through this pandemic, I promise. So yeah, let's get straight into it. Poch and Ole, where are you at the moment? Because the season's been called off. Well, it might get completely called off, but it's been postponed till April 30th at the very least. What scenario would you take Poch in? Or what scenario, rather, would you keep Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in a job? Are you still waiting to see if we can win the Europa League, perhaps, if that continues? Get top four, perhaps, if that continues? Or you think Poch?
It's a very weird. Obviously, it's a very weird situation we are all in now. I said, if Oli didn't get top four, he didn't win a trophy or something. Obviously, Poch is the guy. But now, we can only do what's dealt in front of us, and we have this pandemic, and this is the situation. And I am Poch still, because I still can't forget the beginning half of the season, and that's that big dip in form that we had, and things are going well. Oli is getting things right now. It's just there's so many questions I have, but I think it's also unfair to Oli. I was gonna say, if the season does get called back on and he goes in the losing run, I can't prove that he will or will not go on that losing run or go in a winning run, obviously, until the season gets either continued or postponed. So I don't know what to do about that, and I'm to do with this debate, I'm very confused at the moment, to be honest. In my heart, I still want. In my heart, I would love Oli to stay and do well and carry on his form that he's had before the season got called off. But my brain is still telling me to go for Pochettino.
Interesting. What do you think?
It's a difficult one, eh? I think if the season gets cancelled, then Ole doesn't have much working in his favor because it was all about will he make top four, which I think he would have. Will he win the Europa League? Which I think he would have. I think he might have done both because we were in
I think he would have won the FA Cup as well.
Yeah, it's possible. So now we don't know if that would have happened or not. So he doesn't have much working in his favor. So it comes to what does the club need? What's best for the club? And if I have to analyze over the 6 or 7 years, I think that's Pochettino, to be honest, because we need a manager who can work within a very difficult situation. Bar just the money, just being at Manchester United, it needs a top-class manager, a manager who can make players better, a manager who can deal with the situation of a board that's not the easiest to work with, but can still get the best out of nothing. We've seen him do it over and over again. At Southampton, they were a struggling team. He came in. He basically was the pioneer for attacking fullbacks, if you can say that, with Klein and Luke Shaw, and he got them playing beautiful football and took Southampton to another level. They became that team that the big teams tend to struggle against. He went to Spurs.
How long was he at
Spurs,
Southampton?
I don't need to say. I'm sorry?
How long was he at Southampton, if you know?
I think about 2 seasons. Not that long. But
I was going to say, I think 2 seasons as well.
Yeah. He made a difference very quickly there. And at Spurs, I don't even need to say, he totally transformed Spurs. He took Spurs from a team that's got big team status, but they don't really perform. And then he took them to a team that's always in the top 4. He made them the number 1 team in London, so to say. So I think for what the club has struggled with over the past 6 or 7 years, Poch is probably the better candidate.
I completely disagree. Because Poch is good for bringing stability to a club and getting the best out of nothing players. I think he's proven that he has that ability as a manager, but that's not all you need to manage a club like Manchester United. I think if Pochettino comes, he's going to want to change the squad. And the biggest problem over the last 7 years for me at Manchester United, in terms of, besides the tactics and besides the football, one of the biggest problems for me, especially now, is when I look at that team, I don't see unity. I see a team that is filled with players from several different managers, and that's a problem. And every time we fire a Manchester United manager, it's a reset button. And I think with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you can make the argument that at the beginning of the season, it was terrible and that he deserves to be sacked based on his recent performances. But I would say to you that he's a club legend and he ain't going to get sacked based on recent performances. That's the whole point. That's why he's here. We're here now. Yes, fair, if you want to be fair, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should have been sacked in January, but he didn't get sacked in January. He's here. He's been here since the beginning of the season. And I just think that the best thing and the best possible scenario for Manchester United is not Ole Gunnar Solskjaer going on and winning a treble. No, it's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer getting rid of the deadwood, which he has done. He just needs to get rid of Marcus Rojo. He needs to get rid of Lingard. He needs to get rid of Pereira and Jones. The best case scenario for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is to get rid of the deadwood and lay the foundation for the next manager. And I don't think he's been given enough time to do that. That's what I think.
Okay.
Because
that's true.
When Pogba comes back, sorry, let me just finish off. I think with this virus, it could play into our favor. Obviously, it might go completely bad, but Pogba will be back by the 30th of April as well. Don't forget that. So we'll have Pogba, Bruno, Fred, McTominay, and Matic in the midfield. We'll potentially have Rashford back as well for that final push of the season. We still have Martial. We still have Igalo, who's doing well. So all the signings that have come in since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been in a job, whether you think he's the one who scouts those players or not is irrelevant. He's the one who's in charge when those players came here, and they all made a positive difference. I'm happy that he got rid of Young. I'm happy that Lukaku left in the summer, even though that had not very little to do with Ole. I'm not happy Herrera left in the summer, but hey, if a player doesn't want to be here, he should probably leave because it just brings a toxic energy around the team. I think he's done a really good job of getting rid of the deadwood, and yeah, I know the football isn't great. I know he's probably not the manager long term, but we need someone to bring stability to this club. Poch doesn't play with wingers, so Rashford's probably going to end up playing down the middle again. James, what will happen with Dan James? Is he going to sell him as well now? And then is he going to try bring in another striker? Is he happy with the midfield? Does Poch even like our players? He will definitely like Bruno. He'll fancy Bruno Fernandes. But I just think if Poch comes in, he's going to want his own players because he's a manager who plays a very specific style, and we've seen this before. Ed Woodward is not going to give him the players he wants. And yes, he might get the best out of the little players he has, but he'll probably, is he going to make a Champions League final and then lose? And that's what we're happy with. I don't know. I don't know if I want that for United. At least the football will be entertaining for the first 3 seasons. At least we'll get that. But I don't think he can win a trophy without a budget. He can definitely get us into top 4, but that's not what I want. I'm thinking long term. Long term, I want us to start winning titles, and we need to lay a foundation. That's what, that for me, that's the most important thing with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, getting rid of the deadwood.
Okay, I can agree with that. I just don't know if Ole is good enough long term. I think foundation-wise, he's made a good start. I have to agree with that. I think he's done what other managers have failed to do, which stabilize the club and get rid of the deadwood.
And he's not selfish.
I don't know if he's, in terms of tactics, I don't know if he's good enough to get over the line. I don't know yet. I think these last few months would have proven that. I don't know yet. I feel like with Poch, we have a manager who's not scared to take risks. And I feel like that's something we've struggled with in terms of our managers. All of our managers have been people. Yeah.
Look, I understand that in terms of the football, Poch will be better, but Poch won't lay the foundation. Poch is going to come in, want to buy a specific set of players, and if he fails, the next manager won't like his players as well, unless he's similar to Poch. That's the problem. Poch could work. Poch could get the players he wants. Poch could go on and win trophies. But I've watched this movie before. I've watched it before. I've seen David Moyes come here and get sacked. I've seen Jose, box office, trophy Mourinho come here and not get the players he want and failed. He still won trophies, but he failed. I've seen Louis van Gaal come here, a world-renowned manager, made it to the semi-final of the World Cup with the Dutch team, with Netherlands. Or was it the final? I'm not sure if he was manager of them in 2010, but he did pretty well with Netherlands. He won trophies in many countries where he's managed. I think he even managed Barcelona at some point, didn't he?
Yeah, he managed Barcelona.
Yeah, this is a manager who's proven who can win trophies. He came to United, he didn't get the players he wanted. What happened? He failed. Poch is going to come to United, and I don't think he's going to get the budget he wants. Yes, we'll play attractive football, but we won't get the budget, and we won't. So
Okay,
short term, Poch is perfect, but I'm looking long term. I don't care if Ollie's not going to be here long term. I care about the bigger picture. If Ollie is the short-term manager to lay the foundation, and then another manager can come in and then change the tactics, I'm cool with that. Why must we go and get Poch just so he can play attractive football for a few years and then get fired again? And then we're pressing the reset button again. We've tried 2 experienced managers. We've tried taking a gamble on an up-and-coming manager who managed Everton, and then we've tried a club legend. Do we really want to go back to an experienced manager again and then just hope? Actually, another up-and-coming manager rather, because he hasn't really made it yet. Like, is that really what we want to do? And
that's true. And into that aspect, one could say maybe Ole is the safer bet. But I feel like at Man United, it'll be the best crop of players Poch has ever had. And I feel like Poch is not the type of manager who'll go out and want to spend too much. He's the type of guy who tends to come in and make the most of what he has and bring the best out of that. Just look at Southampton. Who was Ricky Lambert before Poch got there? Who was Luke Shaw? Who was Klein? Tottenham is even a worse example. He took the players who were there, who were considered to be quite, some can say horrible, and he made them top
but
players.
There's context. There's context with Tottenham. I don't mean to cut you off, but there's context with Tottenham. A lot of the core players in Tottenham squad at the moment were some of them were very young when Poch joined, so he got them in there when they were close to their prime. And by the time Poch left, those players were starting to get a bit older, like Son, Kane, Lamela. Who else? What's that midfielder? Wanyama in the midfield. Those guys are all getting a bit older now. They're on the wrong. I think a few of them are on the wrong side of 26, wrong side of 27. I think Poch is a great man manager. He's great at bringing the best out of players. But let's not lube him up like he's got a magic wand and it works 100% of the time, because the likelihood is that at his next club he will struggle. He's not going to come to Manchester United and turn McTominay into a star midfielder in a day. Like, that's not going to happen. So I think people need to calm down. Like, there is context. Harry Kane is not a direct product of Poch. Son is not a direct product of Poch. They're all improved under Poch, big time, but they're not all direct products of him. There's context. And at Southampton, I'll give you that, because those players were nothing before he got there. But I think there was a case to be made for that Spurs squad before he got there. He improved it a lot.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. But I feel like Poch might be, if we're looking for an experienced manager, for me, he might be the best pick, because he's one who can get the attractive football, but still work what he has. So in terms of who's better in terms of the crop of managers out there, I think it'll be Poch.
Obviously, if you want top 4 next season, get Poch. If you want top 4 next season, get Poch. But if you want to be sat here making finals and not winning, get Poch as well. Get Poch as well. If you want to win trophies, get Poch and give him the money. That's what I would say. If you want to get trophies, get Poch and give him the money. Give him the money. Give him the money on top of all the money you've spent already. You've bought Maguire, you've bought Wan-Bissaka, you've bought Bruno, you have Pogba, you have Fred, you have McTominay. You've bought, well, you might not buy Galo, but it looks like he might get a contract extension. You've extended Matic's contract. You've bought James for £15 million from Swansea, who's a weird topic. You still need a midfielder. You probably still need a DM, and then you probably still need a right winger. And then Poch is still going to come in and probably still get rid of some of those players and then some. If the board allows him to do that, Poch is the guy. The problem is, I've seen this before. I've watched this board for the last 7 years. I don't think they'll do it. And I think it's one thing to be biased, but I think I speak for all United fans when we can, and every fan of every other club that these owners have ruined, like the US hockey team, I forgot what their name is, that the Glazers owned and bled dry and sent into bankruptcy. I think I speak for all United fans when I say these owners are not the one. And any manager who comes to Manchester United is managing with the hand tied behind their back. And Poch is probably the best man to do that, but he ain't going to win a trophy with an arm behind his back. He might prove me wrong, but based on the evidence, he won't. And that Spurs team, after they lost that Champions League final, was horrible, bro. So, like Poch ain't perfect. He's not a perfect manager. And I just think people lube him up way too much, People get their willies out and have a jerk off every time they think about Poch when he hasn't actually won anything. And if he doesn't get the budget, what is the point? If you want attractive football, fine. I'll put my hands up, I can't say anything to you. Fair point. If you want attractive football and you want to make top 4 tomorrow, Poch is your guy. I agree. I'm not fighting that. But long term, what this club needs is someone who can work with his owners, but also someone who's unselfish and doesn't mind putting themselves in the line of fire to get the job done. And as cheesy as it sounds, I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the fact that he loves this club more than he loves himself, as it seems, is a good thing. It's a good thing because he's willing to do the dirty work. Yes, short term, his tactics are horrible. Everything's, the football's crap. But, I just say, give it a bit of time. Let's not keep this guy in a job if he's running the team into the ground. But, I do think we need to
look
be
at
patient.
The reality of the situation is obviously the season is postponed. Nothing has been written in stone yet. If the season was to continue, while he does get top 4, he does win Europa League, he does win the FA Cup, whatever, keep him. But then if the season does continue and obviously he doesn't get top 4 or out of Europa League, whatever, then obviously that case has been made for Poch again. But if the season, let's say the season was ended now, and we're in this world of unknown.
Yeah.
The decision is completely now up to those owners. It's completely up there. We as fans really can't say much.
What I think,
have our opinion, but it's up to the Glazers to decide if the situation is what it is now. Season postponed. Oli didn't get Champions League, and it's basically going to restart the season and have a completely new season, like the season has never happened. It's up to them. And if I was in the Glazers' position, I would still get Poch.
If I was in the Glazers' position, I wouldn't have hired Oli. I think the biggest mistake was hiring a manager based on 3 months when he was as a caretaker. I think the biggest decision for me, and moving away from the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer versus Poch debate, the biggest decision for me, or the biggest problem rather for me with these owners is they don't fully buy into a plan. Look at Liverpool with Klopp. Klopp, you're a guy. You're a guy. We have a 5-year plan. You are a guy. And unless this plan goes south within 3 years, we're keeping you no matter what. We're buying everyone you want. We're doing whatever we need to do to get you the best results out on that pitch. That's my problem with this club. Every time something starts to tilt, I understand with Mourinho, he probably should have been sacked. And I understand Van Gaal, people didn't like him and people didn't like the football. And then I also understand with Moyes, he was in 7th place. But if you're asking me,
I feel like we play a big part in that though, as fans.
We do, and I'll get to that. But if you're asking me as a fan, where would I rather be? Would I rather be sat here, Poch is struggling, but he's had time and he's building something, or sat here hiring a caretaker manager who's an ex-club legend, and now we're there scratching our heads, wondering about another manager? I'd rather hire the one guy. I'd rather keep the one manager for 4 or 5 years. I know that sounds like a long time in the modern game, but I'd rather keep the one manager, grin and just suck it up and watch the football and see what happens in that 5 years. Actually see out the project, unless it goes extremely south, like he ends 7th or something. Then that's bad. You have to pull the plug at some point. But I would like to see this board make a decision. I don't care who comes in, whether it's Poch, whether it's Simeone, I don't care what the name is. Whoever it is, give him what he wants and finish the project. And at the end of the project, then we can say, okay, after 5 seasons, this guy only managed to place in the top 4 once or twice. It was the wrong decision. Or his first 2 seasons were bad, but look what happened in his 3 seasons, like what happened under Fergie. It was a crap first season, and I know Fergie was obviously had a record before that, but that's my point exactly. Let's get an experienced manager and actually believe in him and give him the full time. I think my biggest gripe as a United fan is I've seen this movie before. I've seen Van Gaal, I've seen Mourinho, I've seen Moyes, I've seen Ole, and I'm tired of it now. The last thing I want is Ole to get sacked, and then we're sat here again watching someone finish 5th and saying, but he needs time. He needs a transfer window. Let's I don't want to be in the position that Spurs fans are now. They hate Mourinho, but they can't do anything about it because they need to give him time. And that's the thing about new managers. I want to see out a project, and I want to sit at the end of 5 years and say, okay, I don't like this guy. I don't like this guy. I don't like that guy. And I think the biggest mistake was giving Ole the job. It was a short-term decision. Oh, he beat PSG. let's go on a honeymoon and give him a 5-year contract. What? That's the problem. So for me, all I would say is make a decision. If you're going to keep Ollie, back him beyond May. If you're going to get Poch, May's the cutoff. If this guy wins a treble, or if he wins the FA Cup, the Europa League, and makes top 4, he's still out. Get him out, but make a decision. That's all I would say.
Yeah, that's the thing. And then, just speaking about the previous managers, me personally as a United fan, we had Moyes. I didn't really like him. All the managers, I obviously liked Mourinho, but because of his name, but I never really liked his manager style and all of that. And I think with Poch, it'd be the first manager that would be at United where I would be like, no matter what happens, it
would be like a fan.
But I'm just saying, I would be like, this is the manager I'm going to put my 5 years trust in. This is the manager, you know what? I'll be like, if he's down, I'm going to be there, Poch in, give him time or whatever. That would be the manager I would back.
Yeah.
Look, I think this club's ineptitude plays a lot in them firing managers, because if you look at Moyes, they fired him after a few months because he's doing bad, but then they didn't do that well in transfers. They didn't get Cesc Fabregas, which they should have gotten. They didn't get Bale, and we ended up getting Fellaini and Mata, so that didn't really help him. With Mourinho, they decided in the middle of his tenure that they're just not going to back him anymore, and how's that going to work, especially looking at his track record? So they are to blame for most of it. I think, personally, with Poch, I will be a bit biased because I like him, and I do think he's slightly different to those other managers, but I do agree with Marcus, and I think keeping Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, at least for another year, would be the safer bet. Give him the funds, give him another year. And with enough funds, he should be good enough to make top 4. If he doesn't, he definitely needs to get fired.
My only worry with that is like, we do, let's say we keep Oli for a year, right? And then we lose out on Poch. Let's just say another club fires someone and Poch goes somewhere. And then Oli goes, and that year is just bad, like it's another year, no top 4, whatever. And then we're stuck with no one. Like, there probably would be a manager at the time who was available, but I wouldn't want to lose out on Poch.
But that's life. That's life. You can buy Bruno and you can fail at your club. That's life. You make a decision and you stick with it, and you don't think about what if.
And that's what I'm saying.
What if we're hiding?
If it was completely up to me, Poch is the guy, 100%.
Yeah, and like we're Manchester United, we shouldn't be at the mercy of Pochettino as much as I like him.
Yeah, there are managers out there, but look. For me, I'm past the Poch and Oli thing. I obviously have very strong opinions about Poch, but I don't want people to think I'm anti-Poch. I'm not anti-Poch. I'm anti any manager who hasn't won any trophies, who's going to come here with the hand tied behind his back. That's what I'm anti. I'm anti firing and hiring managers. I don't want that at Manchester United, because Liverpool have been doing that for 30 years, and they might still not win a title because of the coronavirus. I just want longevity and a stable decision. If Poch is the guy, back him. If Simeone's the guy, back him, please. Like, it really irks me when I see like how flip-floppy football fans are, and we're allowed to be flip-floppy, but it seems like our board is flip-floppy as well. Where in the first season we're like, okay, it's first season. Second season we're like, okay, I can see it, and then third season when the graph starts to go down, we're like, ooh, I think I'm gonna press the red button now. And it's like, what? You haven't waited, and you haven't given the guy what he needs. And I just think. All I want to see is that a decision gets made, and moving past the whole Poch and Oli thing. Like, both scenarios could fail. Poch could come here, he could fail. Oli could stay here and he could fail. But all I would say is at least you get valuable information from whatever that failure is. If Ole Gunnar Solskjaer gets fired in May, we learn nothing. The guy was here for 1 year. We learned nothing under Moyes. We can say Moyes was crap all we want, but we don't know what he would have gone on to do if he was just given the time. And if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer stays, and everyone is as bad as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer says he is, we will see it. Like, it's inevitable. If he is actually a PE teacher, it's inevitable that he will fail at this level. And, based on the last few weeks, I think there is something there. The football's not attractive, but I do think there is something there. And I do think he was on course to have a strong finish. We destroyed Lask. So, we shouldn't be scared of failing. We should just go in with the decision and just see what happens. Like, finish the project. Run the distance. Go the 5 years. Don't be scared of failure, and then just press the red button every time things go south, because things will go south. Players will dip in and out of form.
Yeah, ideally, we would like the season to continue and finish, to see what Oli, to see the story of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer this season. because you know it was horrible. That start of the season and first half of the season was horrible. It was the worst ever. And then the second half of the season, you know, got Bruno and things started clicking. You know, everything started clicking. Now we're winning games. You know, our defense is looking like they not making as many mistakes. And then this, you know, pandemic obviously breaks out and
I really
hope the story gets finished this season.
Yeah.
That's what you know, like, you know, some United fans will say like, nah, cancel the season, void Liverpool doesn't get the title. But I want to see my United, screw Liverpool. I don't give a fuck about Liverpool. But I want to see United story this season finish. I want to see if Oli could win the Europa League, finish top 4, and maybe get the FA Cup.
Because what a shame. 11 games unbeaten. You beat City.
And like, Oli's still a legend.
You beat Chelsea.
You know, it's not like I hate Oli. Yeah, you know, but I
you
might not like him as a manager. But, you know, he's still a legend. And I will always respect Oli for that.
Yeah. Look, one more thing, just before the show drags on for too long. One more thing. I think, well, actually, I have 2 points to make, and one of them is a question for you, Rita. I think, based on the last few weeks, there was something positive going on with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and it wasn't just luck. Bruno Fernandes came into this team. We've been missing a number 10 all season. It's no surprise. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that when we buy a number 10 who can actually do the job of a number 10, all of a sudden our attack is actually moving forward. That's basic. Igalo, different option from the bench. It's not rocket science. Again, it's what we've been saying all season. We needed, well, some United fans, I must be fair, some United fans have been saying the whole season, we need a different type of option from the bench because we can't just rely on Martial, especially when Rashford is injured. We got Igalo. Igalo may not be your cup of tea, but he fits the profile of a different striker. He's not extremely quick, he's not extremely agile, and he's not the best at hold-up play, but he is a poacher, and he does take, like, when he gets an opportunity, he takes it. Much like Greenwood, except he's obviously a lot stronger. So he's a classic number 9 in that regard. All that, if we get a right winger and Rashford is fit and we have backup wingers, or at least one backup winger in Daniel James, we get a CDM who looks like Matic at the moment. I think this team could work. And then obviously Pogba gets fit. What I want to ask you is, where do you think Pogba fits into this team? Because he will probably be back if the season does resume on the 30th of April. Where do you think he fits into the team?
Are you asking if we sell him, or are you asking if he stays? Where does he fit?
Well, both actually. What do you think? Well, what's your opinion on Paul Pogba since you haven't been on the Friday afternoon show? I've obviously asked Shawnee. Well, where are you with Paul Pogba, firstly, and then secondly, where do you fit him into the team if you want him to stay?
Yeah, look, I love Paul Pogba, and I think he's a brilliant player. But the marriage with United it hasn't worked, and it doesn't. Going forward, it doesn't seem fruitful for both sides. I feel like with Pogba here, it's too up and down. It's never consistent, and we never really get the best out of him. So then, what's the point? And maybe you can say, yeah, maybe from now on, with the stability with Holiday, it'll be better. But then, can you really bet on that? And then I think him leaving is really better for his career. He's 26. He's a really good player. He should go to a place where he will make the most of the rest of his career. So personally, I think he should be sold. But if he does stay, I wouldn't oppose to that because Paul Pogba is a brilliant player. And to be honest, Ole might fight it, but if he does stay, I would like to see the one holding midfielder and 2 box-to-box, because I feel like with Bruno and Pogba, it's the best way to play. And having one player who sits and just having those two run the game, I think that is the best way to go about it.
I was saying this before the show. We were playing some Warzone, some Modern Warfare. Get that game; it's addictive.
Oh my god!
It's not sponsored, by the way. But we were playing Warzone, and I said to Shawnee, "Look, I know you like McTominay, I know you like Fred, but Matic is the guy. Matic doesn't need to be quick if Bruno and Pogba are next to him. If Bruno and Pogba are there to help him, he doesn't need to be quick. Matic, the problem with Matic in the Premier League is he's slow, right? That becomes a problem when he has to do work going forward and he has to play in transition. If you have Bruno and Pogba as a box-to-box, you don't need Matic to play in transition. Yeah. Matic can sit deep. You can have Bruno, you can have Pogba, and then you can have a good front three. That's the key part. A good front three to support them. And Matic can sit deep, and he can do that role because that's what he's been doing for the last few weeks. Obviously, he's gotten a bit of help from Fred and McTominay on the side, but, you know, I don't think Fred and McTominay can hold that role alone if we do play that formation. Yes, you could say that if we got Maguire and Bailey as a combination pair, that'd be fine at the back, but I wouldn't bet on that. Because one, Bailey's injury prone, 2, he's a nutcase. and 3, Ollie seems to like Lindelof and Maguire more anyways. So,
Yeah.
you know, but yeah, it is all about opinion. Some people think McTominay's ready to play CDM. You know, what do I know about football? What do I know about football? Get in the comments.
Look,
let us know what you think.
Personally, I'd love if we slash Man on a CDM, but knowing this club, the fact that they just gave Match an extension basically means you won't play in the CDM. So
Yeah.
At least for
That's
another
a
season.
signing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a new
that's
signing.
That's our CDM.
Matic is like a new signing.
Yeah, dude. But I think Matic with McTominay backing him up works well for at least another year. I think defensively he's brilliant, and with a player like Pogba and Bruno in front of him, and really us dominating the midfield and dominating the game, and him really not having to do as much as he usually would, I think he can do the job. And if we do need a more mobile CDM, we can bring McTominay on the field. And I think we could probably get more out of Fred if he would come on off the bench to replace, let's say, a Paul Pogba or a Bruno Fernandes, and more depth in doing that. So
Yeah,
I think it could work well.
Yeah, I think that's the only issue at the moment that Ollie would face. It's a good situation, you know, it's not a bad situation, but no one in that midfield currently deserves to get dropped for Paul Pogba.
Yeah.
No, like Paul Pogba is great, but he's been out for a long time. You need to work on his match fitness again. There are other times Paul Pogba will obviously definitely play. Like, you know, you can play him in Europa League, you can play him and stuff if the season resumes. But I think, you know, Ollie, you should do that. You know, I think you should tell Paul, like, listen, you know, obviously fans are 50-50, you split the fan base or whatever. If you really do want to stay at the club, you know, work your way back into the team. You know, don't come straight back into the team maybe, because if you do work your way back in team, you might win some of your fans. And if you do put your head down and work and show you want to be, obviously you will win over some of the fans again. And I think, you know, as I love Paul Pogba. You know, if it was up to me again, I would still smack him straight into that team no matter what. But from Ollie's point of view and what he has to do, I think, you know, he has to let Paul Pogba gradually come, you know, and also we don't want to injure Paul Pogba, you know. I don't want to just keep on playing this guy when he's not ready and then injure him again, you know, outplay him when he hasn't been match fit and then he pulls something, you know. I don't want to make that same mistake again. But, you know, if Paul Pogba does obviously gradually make ways back into the team, my ideal midfield would be Pogba, Bruno, and probably Matic for now, and it's not a bad thing. Like, I know Fred has been amazing. He's been probably our contender for player of the season for our team. But, you know, it's not a bad thing. We shouldn't see it as a bad thing as fans. You know, we always like saying as United fans, like, no, don't buy a striker because we want Martial to do well, whatever. But it's not bad to have competition and good players in your squad yet, because that's what it's all about. Because if you want to win titles and you want to win trophies, you're going to need amazing players. For when Martial is injured, you got a backup, amazing backup, just like Romero is to De Gea, and, you know, McTominay can beat Matic. So fans shouldn't worry about that. So, you know, even if Fred does have to get dropped, it's not like, you know, we're ignoring Fred. Fred will still be a very important part of the team.
And Dean Henderson's coming back as well. He's playing well for Sheffield.
Really?
But look, I mean, he's there on loan, so he's going to come back.
Saying he's up there.
Yeah. Look. So, I agree with everything you said there, Shawnee. Just one more point on Paul Pogba is, look, personally, just to answer my own question, I think Paul Pogba is going to stay here beyond the summer. Not because he wants to, and not because the club wants him to, even though they both might, but because of the coronavirus. I know we said we wouldn't talk about this, but I did say it would creep into some conversations. Look, I think a lot of teams are going to be affected by the stopping of football. I think the world is in a very weird place at the moment, and I think that he's put himself in a bit of a golden cage, in the sense that it's a cage of his own making and he can't get out. He's too expensive. I don't see any club at the moment, especially with the way things have played out, buying Paul Pogba for more than 100 million quid. I would be very surprised if Paul Pogba leaves Manchester United in the summer for 100 million quid, genuinely, especially in context of what's happened, because I just think, why would you do it with the world in the state that it's in at the moment? Like, even before the coronavirus, I've always said, why would you buy someone like Paul Pogba when you can get someone cheaper who can do the job and probably won't be as world-class as Paul Pogba, but you can still build a team around them? Why wouldn't you get Grealish? Why wouldn't you get a Maddison? Why wouldn't you get someone like a Bruno who's playing in a league that's underdeveloped compared to the Premier League and is cheaper? Why would you pay 100 million? It's the same argument with Harry Kane, except he's injury-prone. But again, even if Harry Kane was fit, why would you pay 125 million quid for that kind of striker when you could get a Martial or someone cheaper, you know? And I think it's worse now because a lot of clubs will obviously be affected revenue-wise by the coronavirus. And but it's interesting. We'll see what happens in the summer. We'll see what happens.
I feel like you could already count the teams that will buy Pogba on one hand, so now it's going to be even worse. To be honest, personally, if we can get at least a 90 or 100, okay, let's say 100, which we probably won't get, but if we would get that, I still let him go. I feel like bringing in a Grealish to play there just ticks more boxes.
I agree. No, look, also,
record, yeah.
Also, here's the more important thing about Paul Pogba for me. Paul Pogba is a great player. He's world class. I've got no problems with Paul Pogba. The problem I have is the effect he has on the team. It's very 50-50. He can be a leader. He can be an elite player. He can be the guy like a Ronaldo was at Real Madrid, where when he walks into the changing room, it's time. But the problem is, it then becomes all about him. And I'm not really sold on the rumors that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had lost the dressing room a few months ago, because clearly he hasn't. But I do think there is some substance to the rumors that there's toxicity around the club with Paul Pogba. And I don't think it's conscious, obviously. I think it's a subconscious thing. If there is a guy that popular in your dressing room, someone's going to hate him. Whether they want to or not, someone's going to grow resentment towards him. And I just think, imagine being in a dressing room, working your ass off, week in, week out, and your coaching staff is still talking about a guy who's been in the recovery room for 6 months at the press conference. You know, I think that will frustrate the players a little bit. And personally, when I look back to the great Manchester United squads, I know Fergie had some star players in there, but United never bought anyone who was like ready-made. United always bought someone who was up and coming and became something at United. Think about the Roy Keanes. Even Ronaldo. Ronaldo came from Sporting. Yes, the Portuguese people thought he was cool, but much like Bruno, he came from Sporting and the world didn't know who he was. Came to Old Trafford, made a career for himself. I can make other examples, but the list is just too long. And I just think with Paul Pogba, at Juventus, he was a ready-made star, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with buying big players, but I think I miss the days when we used to buy players where nobody really knew who they were, and they just lit up Old Trafford in the first season, and then they stayed with us for a few seasons, and we associated their face with our club's badge and our club. I miss that. I miss that camaraderie. I miss that unity. I miss the passion. I miss playing for the badge. And I know Paul Pogba loves this club, but at the same time, his ego makes it seem it makes it seem not genuine in a way, because you know, Paul Pogba's bigger than Manchester United. He's his own brand, and I think this one's been a bad marriage, as you said. It's just been a bad marriage, and sometimes two people aren't compatible. Sometimes you just got to pull the plug. But we'll see. If Paul Pogba does stay, let's just get the best out of him.
I feel like Pogba to United is very similar. Pogba from Juventus is very similar to Neymar coming from Barca to PSG. He's such a big character coming from a club where there were other big characters who could keep him in check. Now he's probably coming to a club where there's not many world-class players and big characters, and he's the main man. And when he's unhappy, the other players are unhappy. And that can really disrupt the manager's job, because Mourinho was going well, and as soon as Pogba was happy about what Mourinho was doing, and some can say it was justified, but as soon as that happened, the whole club turned against Mourinho, which you can't have that.
I'm not going to call Pogba a virus because I'm not one of those people, but if you've ever worked in a group project, even at school, if there's someone with a big ego in your group, it's going to affect the rest of the group. When that person is unhappy, that energy will transfer to everyone else. When that person is happy, it will likely also transfer to everyone else. And there will be a certain level of resentment if their ego is it's too much to handle sometimes. And we've seen it with Ronaldo over the years with many coaches where there's just a clash and Ronaldo's bigger than the team, etc., etc. Obviously, Ronaldo, Pogba, all these world-class players that we talk about, bar maybe Neymar, are professionals and they put their head down and they work, regardless of what's happening around them. But again, it's the effect it has on the team. There's not many players who can deal with that. There's not many players who can pull themselves out of a toxic dressing room and go out on the field and do a job. You know, the Madrid team that won 3 Champions Leagues in a row did that very well. There were a lot of players in that dressing room who didn't get on along well. On top of that, Karim Benzema was getting ridiculed by the Real Madrid fan base. Gareth Bale, look what happened to his car and what they did to him. He was getting ridiculed by the fan base as well because he was very hot and cold. A lot of players were getting stick, and through all of that, those players stuck up for each other on the pitch. And the problem at United is I don't think we have that. I don't think we have the Roy Keanes. I don't think we have the leaders anymore who can look beyond the headlines, look beyond the papers, look beyond the social media, and just grind it out on the pitch. And, it's not Pogba's fault. It's not Pogba's fault. That's just the way it is when you're one of the best players in the world. You're going to get haters. But look, do leave a like on the video. I think we've dragged this one long enough. This is the longest.
There's only one more thing I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Just to summarize it up, because we spoke about Poch and Paul Pogba. Now, obviously, I just want you three. I'll give my opinion as well, but just simple answer. Poch in, Poch out. Oli in, whatever between the manager and the player. Up to me. My stance is quick. Poch in, Pogba in.
I don't think it's that simple, but hey, fair enough. In terms of
okay, look, I can say
Oli or Poch, I pick Poch. But at Manchester United, with this board, I ain't picking anyone over Oli until I get answers and until I see a decision in a long-term project that's actually going to be backed both financially and with time. I don't dislike Poch. I dislike any manager who's going to come here and just do the same thing I've been watching for the last 7 years. Complain about not getting players in the press conference. Complain about a project for the future. Hide behind time and a vision and not actually just get the job done. And whilst I do think Poch will play attractive football, I ain't bothered about attractive football if it doesn't get trophies. I ain't bothered about not grinding out results just so we can see a nice cross on a header every now and then. I want results, and I don't think Poch is going to get results at this club because of the board. That is my problem. So it's not as simple as Poch and Oli in for me. It's bigger than that. So I can't answer that.
I'm just asking now, where you stand.
Where I stand right now is let's see what happens in May. Let's see what happens. I will answer that question in May. I will give you a honest answer in May at the end of the season when I've seen what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has done. But right now I can't answer it. The only thing I can say is Poch is definitely a better manager than Ole. I'm not going to hide behind that, but there's context. Just because someone is a better manager doesn't mean bringing them in is immediately going to be the better decision. There is context, and it's just not that simple for me. But man for man, obviously Poch is better. I respect Poch a lot. Ole hasn't won trophies, so, I respect Poch a lot. Pogba, I am Pogba in. I want Pogba to stay with all my heart and soul, but I think he's unhealthy for the club, and I think it's best for him to move on. But I would love Pogba to stay next to Bruno. I want to see that. There's my answer.
I think if the season gets cancelled, give him another year. I think it's the safest thing to do. Unless obviously if it gets give him another year. And in terms of Pogba, honestly, I'm Pogba out. I won't even lie to you guys. I love Pogba. But I feel like it just hasn't worked. And I feel like prolonging that doesn't help anything.
Wait, actually, hold on. If we get Grealish, then I'm Pogba out as well, because I'd rather have a young player. I would rather have a young player. But if in a scenario where we sold Pogba and didn't buy someone like a Grealish, then, I'd be very upset. So I retract my answer. I am Pogba out if we use the money for someone else.
Yeah, all I'll say is if we had to get Grealish to replace Paul Pogba, it would soften my blow because obviously everyone knows how much I love Grealish.
Yeah.
But,
but leave a like on the video, guys. Please do subscribe. I think this is the end of the road. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope wherever you are in quarantine, you're doing well. And I hope the sound of our voices calms your insanity a little bit if you are a socially active person. But other than that, let us know what your opinions are in the comments down below. Don't be shy. Engage with us, please. We're trying to build a genuine fan community here, and we're trying to do the best with what we have. So we really appreciate anyone who clicks on our videos and anyone who's made it to the end of this video. You're a legend. Poch in, Oli in. Poch out, Oli out. Which one are you? Pogba in or Pogba out? Which one are you? Let us know. Until the next one, peace out.